Hello, my lovelies. I'm excited to connect with you today. So I decided to come on here and talk a little bit about how things are changing and what I've noticed going on in the industry for business, for online businesses, for the info space, for the leadership, coaching, mentorship, whatever it is you want to call it. And there's huge changes this year, huge. I mean, we can already feel it, and a lot of us are experiencing it right now in life, of what's transitioning, what's dying, what's literally being burned to the ground, and what's going to rise from that. And I think it's a really good symbolic moment for us to ask ourselves what parts no longer serve us. And I've been reflecting a lot on specifically what it is about my journey that no longer serves me and what I don't want to do anymore moving into this year and this new era, really. And it's a new era not because it's trendy or because someone's saying this is my soft girl era. Like, no. This is an era because it's literally the change. So it's funny, but the word for was in Spanish is era, E-R-A. And I had to think to myself, like, damn, like if that doesn't say something, what will, right? So an era is acknowledging what was and now what is. It was an era. It literally means was in Spanish. And as a Spanish speaker, I just really contemplated it and I sat with it and I was like, wow, what is this meaning for all of us collectively, but also individually? A lot of us are still hanging on to what we think we should do, to who we think we should be, to what we should be doing, and especially in business. But it's not authentic and it's not leading us to anywhere good. And I can't help but notice that that's been the shift. You know, since the beginning of COVID to now, a lot of people are just going to drop like flies in business. A lot of people, and a lot of us can see it already to say like, well, they're dropping because there was nothing of a foundation there. Or it wasn't authentic and aligned with the person. It might have been authentic and it might have been good-willed and it might have been with good intention, but is it in the best alignment for everyone involved, right? The customers, the team members, the person that's providing the service, right? Is it serving everybody? Yeah, it's good to see you too. And it's very important to ask ourselves, is that what it is we want to do, but also what we are meant to do? And I've been studying a lot of literature specifically about people that have written for centuries and just for time over time about work, about purpose, about our mission, and about what it means, right? And here's the most beautiful understandings that I've gathered. Work is love made visible, right? By Khalil Gibran. And it's beyond beautiful, the understanding that once you embody that, that's what it means that work doesn't feel like work. It just feels like you're living your purpose, you're living your mission, you wake up every day, and there's this light inside you. There's this beautiful, bright light that says you are meant to help the world. You are meant to help people, and this is how you're meant to help them. Everybody has their own assignment and their own mission, and some people actually have collaborative missions. And I absolutely love the way Richard Boyles explains it in What is My Mission, and his most famous book, What Color is My Parachute? And I remember studying these individuals when I was in graduate school, right? When I was in school to learn psychology and therapy and how to help people when they talk to you about their feelings. And what I really learned is that both these men that I've just mentioned are spiritual in nature. They understand that when you wake up and you open your eyes, everything is spiritual. And I want to be clear that spirituality and religion are two separate things. They're very separate things. They're not the same thing. And when you have a spiritual essence and you understand that all things that the human interacts with and touches and experiences are spiritual, there's no confusion. You just have to look at it through that lens, right? Just as a chemist will look at something for the chemical composition of two elements and how they interact with each other or not, right? And so I share this because Richard Boyles explains that our mission actually has three parts, our mission in life. The first mission is to understand that we are led by source, that we are led by the higher being, the God, whatever it is you want to call it or you believe in, that is the one that has assigned what it is that we're meant to do in this body, in this vessel, in this timeline. And that's so important to understand because it very much leads me to, with you, everything, and with you, nothing. Like, it's a very clear understanding for people that get it, right? But for those that don't, they feel lost. They feel like, well, what is my purpose? What is my mission? It's very simple. If you quiet yourself enough to actually listen, that's part one. But then part 2 is the hardest thing, for you to be disciplined and for you to actually be faithful to it. It's one thing to hear it. It's another to acknowledge it and be like, okay, got it. Mission. Okay, like that's my assignment. Got it. Thank you. Thank you, source. Thank you, God. Thank you, higher power. But then it's a whole other situation for someone to say, yikes, that's what I have to do to be disciplined and have discernment and understand that that is my path. That is your path. And that's where most humans get stuck, because it requires you to grow, and growth is so uncomfortable. It requires you to experience pain. It requires you to have loss and grief and all these human experiences. And that's what people avoid. And they're like, oh no, that is not the vibe. That is not what I want to feel. I just want to feel rainbows and butterflies. Those are the people that stay stagnant, and they numb themselves. They numb themselves with work. They numb themselves with what they eat, with what they ingest, with who they hang around, and any other vice that you use. And a vice to somebody may not be the same vice to someone else. To some people, they may abuse food, and others, they may abuse entertainment or media that doesn't allow them to grow or to connect with themselves. What most people are missing in this world really is just time to connect with self, and then listen to what the message is, and then take action on it. See, that's the thing, and that's what Richard Boyles explains, that it's a 3-part thing. It's not just being assigned a purpose and mission. We all were given one. But it's understanding that if you don't listen to it, you're not going to get what it is that you're asking for. God never says you don't deserve that, you don't get that. You already are deserving. You already are in light. You already are favored. It's just understanding, am I disciplined enough? Am I a good discerner of what happens in life and what comes my way that I should say yes or no to, right? All right, so let's see here. So Khan says, purpose is when your passion and the work you do aligns with your vision and your life mission. Absolutely. It's an intersection. It's like all the cars are coming together in a 4-way stop, and it's like, yep, we all met here, the 4 corners, right? That's why it's so spiritual and so special when there's 4 winds. It's always a dynamic of a triad of 3 or 4, right? And when we embody that into our work, and embodiments, you've actually, in mind, body, and soul, they're all connected in understanding this is what we're doing and here's why. That's what alignment is. And it's so interesting that I so frequently talk with people, so frequently, and that's my gift. That is literally one of my gift bags that I receive from Source, that I just love conversation. And I've learned the art of conversation is not so much what comes out of your mouth, but what you understand and what you listen and what you do with it, right? Because you can have information, right? That's the first level, right? The bare minimum, the bottom. And then you can have knowledge, because then you have access to that information. You've heard it, you've seen it, you're like, check, I got that, cool. But what are you doing with that? When you've embodied it, it's wisdom. And that's the most beautiful part. How can you embody it? Well, you have to feel the fear and do it anyways. You have to understand that it's like, well, I have to let go, Source. Yeah, you have to let go. That divorce, that child, that attachment, that house, whatever it might be. And it's so painful. I've gone through so many myself, and even friends and family right now are losing their homes. They're losing their homes, their security, their feeling of whatever it might be. And I want to be clear that there's a distinction at a higher level that I would like to share with all due respect, that a lot of individuals are losing their houses right now as we speak in the Los Angeles area. But that doesn't mean that they're losing their home and their heart, because home is where the heart is. But not only that, home is where you feel safe. So for a lot of individuals, they don't need to lose their house, their physical material house, to not feel at home. You can be in a mansion, you can be in a castle or the most beautiful architectural building and not feel at home. And that's something so important that I've had to understand over the years as I've moved so much. I recently just wrote my newsletter to my audience, explaining that or sharing really with them that I've moved 10 times in 5 years. So that's an average at about 2 times a year. And the number one thing that I've learned is, wherever it is that you decide that you are going to house your physical body, the most important thing is to feel safe, is for your whole entire nervous system, for you to feel at ease, because the opposite of that is disease, which is illness. And it's all interconnected. And so many individuals are still keeping in the matrix. They're still keeping themselves in this job they freaking hate. They're doing things that they don't like anymore just because it pays the bills. So really their crack and their drug is money. And here's the thing, like I can speak on it because I've been down to $5 and I've had 5 figures just off 1 month. And then people are like, whoa, how are you doing that? Because I've surrendered, because I've been willing to go through the highs and the lows and understand what is it teaching me, to not be attached to that and say, oof, this is going to be so painful, but I know along the way, this is going to build me and this is going to form the woman that I am, right? And when you have loss at such a deep gravity, and when you have the fear that you've always had your entire life, right? It might be like one or two like main fears that you're like, damn, if that happened, I have no idea how I would survive that, how I would live after that, or how I would function. The moment it happens to you, there is nothing on the other side except freedom. It sounds so odd to say it, but it's literally what I've learned in my spiritual development. That once I was on the other side of it, I was like, damn, that hurt. Ouch, thank you. Dang, please, thank you, wow. That's literally what it was, like Anne Lamont. I was like, ouch. So it's very similar like when we're children. And we know for a fact that learning something is going to take effort, is going to take time, it's going to take investment. But you know over time, if you're disciplined and you learn that very early on, that it's like, got it, don't eat the marshmallow right now and then I get two. That's what's up. That's exactly the same way it works with the universe, God, source, whatever it is you want to call all this that we're experiencing. If you are faithful, not fearful, if you have faith inside you, faith knowing that I'm not sure what's on the other side, it's uncertainty. If you have a big enough window of tolerance, you'll be able to do anything, any single thing that you put your mind to. But the most important part of that is the part two, which is, are you in alignment with it? Does every single piece of you, mind, body, and soul say, hell yeah, like that's for me, because it's in the greatest good for everyone involved, for the receiver, for the giver, for the people that may benefit from it long term, like a legacy, right? And this is what I'm seeing is so misaligned right now, so much. I'm just over here eating my snacks, minding my business, drinking my water, but I'm watching from afar and I'm just like, no wonder that's falling apart. Yeah, no wonder your marriage of 10 years is falling apart. Yeah, no wonder your kids are not where you want them to be, because you're having this uncertainty about where it is that it's coming from. I see it all the time in business, and that's why I love working with women. I love working with women because many of them will come and say, listen, I'm fully aware of this, this, and this, but I can't put my finger on it. So then what I do, it's interesting. The way my entire being works, and here's what it took me many years. I'm talking about 10 plus years to actually realize and understand, so to say, how my computer works, how my system works, how my operating system actually ingests information. It processes it, it calculates it, and then it molds it into something else. And so what I've realized is that I'm a translator. And not just because I speak English, Spanish, or bilingual. What I mean is, I live in both worlds. I live in the materialistic, but also in the spiritual world. So ethereal, materialistic, like in hands, tangible, and the unseen. I live in both. And when my dad passed back in 2021, it was literally like someone just cracked me open. And then I could see things that I had never seen before, quicker and faster and deeper. And then I was like, whoa. And so I had to get help with it. I had to reach out to mentors and say, hey, listen, I'm experiencing these things, but I don't know what the heck to do with it. I don't know what to do with my gift to the capacity that I know that I can use it. And so over the years, I've been a hermit. I've been my in my cocoon, because this is the era, like this is the area of the butterfly that comes out and says, y'all, like, remember me? Like, this is what it turned into. So every single thing that I've been through in these past 5 years, it's been rough. It has been completely and utterly rough. I have lost everything. I have gained everything. I've experienced poverty. I've experienced wealth. I've experienced the extremes of both. And even in attachment, in love, and in grief. When you have great grief, you have great love. So these past 5 years have taught me the gratitude I have for the extremes of the human experience. And because I have those experiences, I can now translate it to others. So when they say to me, Z, I don't understand. I was making 100K last year, and then this year I don't understand. At one point, I was even making $100K a month, but now I can't even sell this to my dog. And so what I say to them is, let's look at it through a spiritual lens. Let's take a look at actually what's happening. And so what I do is I translate everything. So if we, according to, the person that's coming to me says, oh, I have a challenge with my operations. We're hiring the wrong people are not staying, the churn, the SOPs, standard operations, yada, yada, yada. I could speak all of it because I've done it for years, My professional career actually started, I would say, I don't know if you'd call it that or not, but I was a hairdresser. And I would just listen to people all day long, and I was a barber. I would just fade men day in, day out. And all I would do is just listen. I would literally just listen to them. And I learned the most important lessons, that if you listen long enough, people will tell on themselves. And I would listen to all these stories, and I'm just like, that's something. Okay, go for it. Bring your girlfriend, bring your wife. At the same time, okay. And what I learned about that is that I was an excellent listener. And so then I went to the next stage of my career, which was, going to graduate school and becoming a psychotherapist. And I did that work. I did that work to close for a decade. And I also learned deep, deep lessons. But here's what I learned. Hi, Mama. I learned that no matter how much knowledge, right? We talked about that a little bit ago, and information we have, that doesn't translate to wisdom unless you embody it. But in order to embody it, you have to become aware of it and acknowledge where your constraints are, where you're holding yourself back to be like, nah, that can't be true, because if it's true, that means you got to change, right? And so maybe 6 months before my father passed in 2021, so around like COVID, right? Like COVID woke us all up because we had nothing but time to just sit there and be with ourselves. So during COVID, I had to sit with myself when my caseload was stacked, cash only, $250 an hour. And any therapist, right, that looks at that, they're like, oh my God, like that's the dream. Like, why would you walk away from that? Because that wasn't the vibe anymore. It had served its purpose. I tell this story so many times and people are like, girl, are you nuts? Like, are you legit, girl? Like, are you crazy? And I say, no, I just heard source. I heard the voice, and the voice said, my dear, has already served your purpose. Amen. It's good. You can let it go now. And most people would struggle with that, to be like, what do you mean? I spent $100,000 on my degree. What do you mean? I spent so much time passing, and not one, but 2 exams. I had 2 licenses, y'all. I had 2. And Source was like, you got to let this go because I have so much more for you. It was like the meme or the image, if y'all have ever seen it, that it has the huge teddy bear in the back of the parent and the kids crying about the little itty bitty, like tiny bear that's in the front that they want. And so I had to surrender. I had to surrender to what God was telling me, to say, there is more for you. The impact and the opportunity for you to help people heal is humongous. It's huge, girl. But you got to have trust that I'm going to lead you through this. It's dark right now, but you ready for the light? And it was so scary. It was one of, I can't say it's the scariest, because I've been through some ish. I have been through some ish in my life. Deep, deep traumas and hurts and violations in my life. And so the assignment that I've been given is to be an alchemist, to turn this ish in life, to turn this shit into gold, really. And that's transformation. That's why I am indeed an alchemist. I alchemized this hurt, this pain, these traumas, whatever it is you want to call it, in the ouch box, into empowerment, into inspiration, and first and foremost with myself, to understand that Source is leading me. It's faith. It's me having more faith than fear of knowing like, well, damn, I got $500 left and payroll is due in 2 weeks. I have no idea how I'm going to make it to $5,000 to cover payroll, but I'm going to do it. I don't know how, but please lead me. I pray that you know better than I do. And the most important way to pray is to pray with your legs, meaning you take action. There's a saying in Spanish that says, ayúdate que yo te ayudaré, which means you got to literally do the work to meet them halfway. For the universe, source, God, whatever it is you believe in, but you have to do that work. And that is where so many people get stuck. They just sit there and they're like, well, I prayed today. Well, I read the scripture. Well, I was of faith today. That's great. Yes, I'm with you 100%. I'm right there with you. But you need that action part too. It's like, okay, well, what have you done to move this along with faith so that it can meet you there. It's like a lot of women that I mentor, and part of their business model is, I would love to share this with someone romantically and have, a really great partner in all areas of my life. And I have to ask them sincerely and say, are you a great partner to yourself? Are you meeting yourself there? You want someone fit, but girl, are you in the gym? Right? You want someone that's going to take care of you, but are you taking care of yourself? You want someone that's going to meet you there in the business, but how much time are you actually spending to understand what's not working in the business? It just works hand in hand. The people that we attract in business, in friendships, in romantic, whatever it is you want to call it, they're just a mirror for us. And the moment that we realize that, we don't fall into victim mode anymore of they hurt me, they cheated, they abused, yada, 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 insert here. No, the only person that's betraying ourselves first and foremost is ourselves. We are the first perpetrator against our own soul and our own being. And it's so rough to hear that because people are like, ouch, how could that be? People only mirror to us what we allow them to do, boundaries, right? Or what we have already done to ourselves. We only let people mistreat us according to the level that we mistreat ourselves. I remember learning that the first time when I was seeing a client and I was doing some work and reading upon authors and people that spoke about trauma and boundaries, right? Dr. Henry Cloudson, an amazing author, right? Boundaries in marriage, boundaries in friendships, boundaries for everybody, right? And I remember learning that and I was like, ooh, I can't lie to myself anymore. How many people in my life at that time, right? Years ago, probably like 7-8 years ago, was I allowing to just walk all over me because I had the potential to raise my voice and say, actually, I'm not cool with that. That's not going to work for me and that's not for the greater good of everybody. I didn't have that capacity. I had the knowledge, once again, I had the information, but I didn't embody it, so it wasn't wisdom. I wasn't walking in alignment with my true understanding of what it is that I needed. And sometimes you just got to fuck around and find out. That's just the truth. Sometimes you literally got to let people mishandle you, use and abuse you for you to be like, got it, thank you for the lesson. And those are our greatest spiritual teachers. And when you give thanks to them and then you let it go with kindness and compassion, but you have boundaries and you let it go, that's when you grow. That's literally when you literally glow up, you go to the next level. And then people are like, damn, what you doing? Boundaries? Wow, what are you doing? Having better discernment and picking better people. Sometimes it's not that you're a shitty person or that you're terrible. It's you literally just don't have good decision making or choosing the right people to ride with you in business, to ride with you on a project, to ride with you in friendship. Because you will only attract what you are to yourself. And so I share this with all of you because for these past 5 years, I've just kind of been in like hermitude mode and in a cocoon and just studying and then taking the information and then the knowledge and then making it wisdom. So then it doesn't even have to be a conversation with someone about, hey, you dropped the ball and here's how I'm feeling. I just don't even enter into that relationship. And I share this now because it's been a journey. It's been a huge journey. And it's so beautiful to know that if I am able to transmute X to Y, right? Like trauma and pain into inspiration and empowerment, not because it's going to cure others, but it will inspire them to know it's possible. I am literally the definition of what is possible in certain capacities for people that feel drawn to me, attracted to me, or say, oh, dang, we have so much in common. 100%. A lot of individuals that are attracted are people that are growth seekers, people that say, hey, listen, I know I got more in me. I know I have so much potential. I just don't know how to tap. I don't know how to get into this. And it's like, girl, come on over, like, come on in, And that's when it started, right? Like, yes. And this is when it started because then I started to notice like there's only so much of me to go around. And so then I started doing group models, right? Like one to many, and they just popped. And then that's when I realized this is my true purpose. As beautiful as my deep, sensual, intimate work was in the therapeutic realm, in the sacred space of one-to-one in a chair with someone else, there was always something inside me that's like, damn, if more people could experience this right now, this intimacy, this vulnerability with boundaries and respect, I can't imagine how much the world would heal. And that's when it hit me that I was like, okay, something's got to change here because this model, it's got to scale to some extent. And that's my business brain. That is my entrepreneur self. I'm literally the definition of healing meets entrepreneurship. And this is literally like anything I drop in the broadcast channel here on IG. I just drop the ideas that come to me. Literally, here's what I do. I wake up, first hour is for myself to tap in to hear the messages, right? Like it's sources downloading things. And then I'm like, okay. And then I take it. Then from there, I choose what devotionals I have for the day, like what I'm willing to give. Because you got to give something if you're asking for things. People got it backwards. They come into prayer, they come into devotionals, they come into their meditation, whatever it might be, and they're just asking. But what if we come from a place first of giving? Like what a game changer, right? And then from there, it's the next hour where it's like, okay, well, what does this mean in the material, the real world? Like, okay, I could be up there in the sky and all that for a minute, but I got to come down and I got to translate it. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about this week because I'll be doing 2 lives a week. So if you enjoyed this, if you found this useful, if you want to send this to somebody, shoot me a DM and be like, Z, thank you. This was the number one thing that stood out to me today about the talk because I want to do more of these. I'll be doing empowerment calls. I'll be doing different things because people need to hear this. So I'm so grateful for you guys joining today, and we'll talk soon. Bye.